the field in tech. Our speaker is Albert Sitati. He is a technical consultant at a company known as BY, and he's going to be taking us. It was during the launch of the Oliver, thank you. Where was I? Okay, introducing Albert. Albert is a technical consultant at a company called BY. He will be taking us through our topic for today that we're going to engage and learn, called the Azure Custom Policies for Governance. And I'm going to hand over the session to him, and he'll take us from here. Hope everyone learns, and feel free to leave a question in the chat box where you want to understand. You don't understand, he will clarify later on in the meeting. Albert, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Just confirm you're able to see me and also you're able to hear me. I'm joining from Light Poly Lead's house, but yeah, I guess we can get this going. Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Skamoi, for that awesome introduction, and also to every one of you who have joined today's session. I will quickly share my screen so that we can start our session. Okay. Then Skamoi will help me to tell me when you're able to see the screen.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay. Thank you. Just during the introduction session, it was really interesting to know most of you at least you have an idea around the policies, and in this specific case, the Azure policy. And maybe just to ask, because I had some mentioning that there are a lot of built-in policies there. What do you think is the reason why now someone will decide to go to a custom policy? Yet we have a lot of built-in policy. Just anyone, you can unmute and shout. What do you think you need to go through the stress of coming up with a custom policy, yet there's already a built-in policy? Is there anyone? Diane, you want to give it a try? What do you think you need to go through a stress of creating a custom policy, yet there are hundreds, if not thousands, of built-in policy in Azure?
So maybe there's a policy that doesn't cater for your particular use case. Maybe you want to restrict it to a particular resource, for instance.
Okay, yeah, perfect, and that is true. And this one, from what you're saying, I can try to link it to one specific reason, which it could be on the organization-specific rules. So in this case, there are a lot of built-in policy, and most of this built-in policy, it captures most of people's need. But for this particular case, is that specific need that you need to do. Maybe it could be to a particular resource, or maybe it could be because of the industry that you're operating, and then they want you to come up with a specific policy for that. So that is why individuals, businesses now will go down the road of coming up with custom policies. So for our today's session, it will just be a quick one, and I'll be taking you through the session today. We are going to tackle it is on the Azure Custom Policies for Governance. As Kamoi mentioned, Albert Sitati, technical consultant at BY. I'm certified in various fields in Microsoft, one of it being the Microsoft Certified Azure Solutions Architect Expert, and also certified in Identity and Access Management, which is Identity and Access Administrator Associate. And I'm glad today to take you through this session, and I hope all of you will enjoy. Now, just a short chat about Azure Policy. As the name suggests, the policy, we all know the function of a police. Let's say just literally take it as a police who is there to enforce law and order, who is there to ensure everything is done according to how it is expected. And in this case, the Azure Policy now mimics the same, in that it comes in to assess your environment against maybe for compliance purposes, just to enforce some rules, the guardrails. As we try to adopt cloud, one of the major things that we need to talk about is on the governance. And when you talk about the governance, now this go down to your organizational standard. A good example it could be, we have developers in the house. So for developers, since because they want to access a development environment, it could be a dedicated subscription for development. We want them to spin just particular SKUs for of VMs. We don't want maybe a memory intense series of VM virtual machine to be spinned up in a development environment. Maybe just because they are testing a number of 2 or 3 things there, we just want a machine that they can use to host maybe a GitLab for their CI/CD process or something of the sort. So we want to have guide rails or security controls that will only ensure that they're able now to spin. It could be a standard virtual machine or this particular kind of machine. That one can be achieved through policy. You can have an Azure policy that can restrict this deployment to a given SKU of machine. The other instance, it could be maybe in this case, you have a dedicated data center in cloud. In this case, your dedicated data center, it could be, I'm talking about a region. Because we are in Africa, maybe because of the compliance reason, you may decide that your dedicated data center is South Africa North, or maybe you're using West Europe based on your organizational need. So you want to implement these security guidelines down throughout the organization. People are only allowed to spin up resources in South Africa North or West Europe. That one can be easily achieved through policy. Last instance that I can give you, just but a few. Another one, it could be maybe you want tagging. We all know that tagging comes handy when you're dealing with your cloud environment in automation and also in your cost management. So I want to ensure that any resource that is created in an environment has a tag name of maybe the application that is in that specific resource and the application owner. This one, it could be a specific that's responsible for. We can also have, maybe you want to enforce tagging based on the business unit that you have in this organization. It could be tag name. We have it as the organization, and then you have the name there. For you, in order for you to push it down throughout the organization, this one can be achieved through an Azure policy. And for this specific case, we just wanted to say, in as much as we have built-in policy, we just wanted a quick chat around how can you now get started with Azure custom policy. And there are various approaches, or these are the steps that you'll take when you want to get started with a custom policy in Azure. First, you identify your business requirements. For example, in this case, it could be a business requirement wants that my development team should only spin up maybe just a general purpose virtual machine. It could be maybe a D-series machine. So that one is a business need. Another business need, it could be, I'm using storage accounts and my application are interacting with these storage accounts. It will only be viable if I rotate keys for this storage account. Why? The reason it could be because of security purposes. I don't want my storage account to have keys for a long period of time. I want them get rotated after a given period of time. So that one is a specific business need. After identifying a specific need, before you go down that road of you doing the custom policy, you may want to ask yourself, is there a built-in policy that covers your specific need? Because you don't want to do something, you don't want to maybe to start from scratch something that is already there. So you want to save you on your time and also to use something that is already there. So you have to cross-check to ensure that what your specific business need, there's not any specific built-in policy that can cover your specific need. Then if that one is identified, then you go on now into the creation. As we'll see in our demo, the first thing that you need to do is for you have to identify the resource property. So for example, you're dealing with a storage account. Which specific property am I going to change? In this case, am I going to change maybe the required TLS version? Am I going to change maybe the way this storage account is being accessed? Am I going to change or maybe on the tagging aspect that every storage account should have tag? So you have to identify the specific property of that resource. Then after identifying, you have to ensure that this property, it is an accepted alias, because one of the challenges that will come when you're dealing with custom policy, when you want to save a new definition, maybe it can throw an error that's saying that maybe the proposed alliance is not an accepted one, or the proposed property is not an accepted alliance. An alliance is an alternative, could be an alternative name in which this resource type is identified. So there are very specific way in which this resource should be identified, and this is something that you have to keep in mind, or something that you may want to ensure that you are using the required names or the required property for your resource, and that's why you have to ensure that the property is an accepted alliance. And then you have to determine the effect of this policy. There are several effects. One, maybe you may want to have it on audit, which is highly recommended. First of all, before you implement this custom policy, you have to ensure you know how it behaves, the effect that it will have in the environment. So you need maybe to implement this policy in an audit mode first. After you're seeing the effect, after you have that compliance, for compliance purposes, for auditing. So you have it in the audit mode, and then you see how it behaves, its effect. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to break down things. We don't want to break things. Suppose if you are doing you have a VM scale set, and then you have a policy that restricts your virtual machines only to 10 or 4. So if you go ahead and try to put this one into a hello, Scamoy, just confirm. Seems like a drop for a while. You were able to hear me?
Yeah, you were breaking for a while, but now you're audible.
Oh, sorry for that, and some network issues. Yeah, I was talking about the last part of it on the composing policy definition. Now you have already identified your effect that you want this policy to be in. Now you come to define, you have to compose the definition. Because the first thing before you implement a policy, there must be a definition of it. So after you have created your definition, now you can go in to assign. You'll maybe assign at various scope. At the definition, you implementing definition, it will be a very good strategy. You define a policy on the management group, and then assigning it at a specific scope that you want. Because the reason why you want to define it at the management group is that when you are trying to now implement, or maybe you want to assign this policy at a given scope, you are having it across your various subscriptions. You can assign it at a particular subscription that you want. But you first do a definition. Definition, you can do it at a management group level if you have access to that. But if you don't have access to it, you can comfortably do it at the subscription level of it. Then on now assigning, that becomes a very key. Do you want to assign this policy? Because as we all know, in Azure, we have the hierarchy. Hierarchy starting from the management group, the default one being the tenant root group. And then you come to the subscription. And then from subscription, you come to a resource group. Then from the resource group, now you come to the resource. And you have to understand that anything that is implemented at the hierarchy, it applies down through all the things down the hierarchy. So if you have to put this policy as a subscription, just know that everything below that means your resource group, your resources will all have the effect of this policy. And yeah, because of that, we'll quickly jump into a demo. And our demo in this case, you have a business case or a business requirement whereby we have to ensure access key rotation by having a reminder period set. A good example, it could be this. Let's picture that scenario. Why do we have this one as a valid business requirement? I'm talking about maybe you are building your application. Your application maybe is storing, suppose it's an e-commerce application whereby the images are stored in the blob storage. So your application, by either way, you have programmatically configured that it access images that are stored in a storage account. Storage account, these are, and that access has been given through maybe access keys. In this case, we're talking about access key, but there are other ways in which you can give access to the storage account. But for a particular case, we're interested in the access keys. You'll want to rotate these keys perhaps in every 3 months. It could maybe in 6 months, just depending on the organizational requirement. The reason why we are doing this one is that we don't want for security reason, we don't want this key to be there for a long time, because we tend to believe that it could be vulnerable to maybe could be stolen or maybe breached by some people. If they get access to this key, then it means they have access to my storage account, which is a concern. So you may want your developers or someone who is in charge of those storage accounts at least to be rotating these keys for a given period of time. Normally, there's that point where, as you'll see on the Azure portal, there's that point whereby you can set the key reminder. You toggle it on, and then you give it the days. That it will tell you that the key reminder has been set for this particular storage account. So you want to do an auditing. You want to see, suppose, try to assume you are an enterprise organization. You have more than 100 storage accounts there. So you want to ensure that you want to know that how many of these storage accounts they don't have this key reminder set. So that is, it could be a good report to start from. If you know this kind of the storage account that they don't have key rotation set on, then you will narrow down to who are the owners of the storage account, and then you'll be able to ensure that at least the key reminders are set on. We may also want to go ahead and try to have a policy that can programmatic or automatically set up this key reminder, but I may say it will not be a good idea. The reason is that I don't want my storage account key to be turned on to be changed automatically, but because this one, it will break my application. Because what happens is that when you you rotate the key, you'll also have to rotate, maybe the application is using this key, you'll also have to go, if this key has been stored in the key vault, you'll also have to provide new keys there. So your application may break. It will be a good idea now to have the reminder. You have to set this reminder, and then you can manually rotate the keys to ensure that your application is ever running. And this one can be done during a maintenance period, based on your organization need, or maybe if you're doing it on a lab basis, based on how you will desire. And then from there, you'll be able to do auditing of this one from the Azure portal. And this one is just a snippet. So you have a couple of storage accounts in my environment, two where I set the key reminders. And after implementing that policy definition, I was able to see both of my storage accounts, they have at least key reminder set on. So that one should be less of a worry. And yeah, we'll quickly jump into this demo. In case of any question, let me know. I'll connect my second screen for the purpose of the demo so that you can run through. As I connect, give me a second. You can share any questions that you have as we do that. Okay, so this one is coming up. Allow me to share another screen for that purpose. Okay, I'll quickly share the screen and let me know once you're able to see. Okay, Kamo, you can confirm you're seeing the right screen on the Azure portal?
Yeah, a storage account. Policy,
okay.
Policy, yeah.
Perfect. That's the right screen that I want you to see. So a quick start for these, maybe for those who have not interacted with policy before, how you normally know how you can set your policy by just accessing your Azure portal. You can quickly go to policy, then from policy, there are these 3 panes that we are interested in. There are definitions, assignments, and exceptions. So already there are built-in policy, as mentioned at the beginning of the session. For the built-in policy, so there are a lot of built-in policy. There are thousands, if not hundreds, if not thousands of them. There are a lot of this policy. And in most of the cases, as you said, we try to check to ensure that we don't have a built-in policy for that, because we don't want to do a double work. In this case, you can say, is there a key rotation? You can just search by key rotation. These are the customs. These are the ones which I implemented. So let's forget about them. if you do it in your environment, you'll see you don't have any, or these are just custom, meaning that I implemented them. If you can filter this one to built-in, you can have built-in, you see we don't have any built-in for that. So then suppose you're the one who are told to build up those. Now, where do you start? So the first step that you need to do, you normally is a good idea. You start already from a built-in policy. From there, you're able to get the structure of the policy, or you know what the policy composed of, and then you change a number of things. So we'll quickly redo that. You can quickly confirm that I have a storage account. Yeah, I have a couple of the storage accounts. And what I was telling you, if you go to a storage account, and then you can do an access key at the point of the access key. So just a second for it to load. So you see there's this point of you edit rotation reminder. You can rotate, you can have a reminder that tells you rotate this key after a given period of time. So if you click at that one, this one it has been set on, it is on, it has been enabled. But if you go to another storage account, maybe this one, the last one that I will quickly show you, this one, and then you narrow down to go to the same access keys. Access keys. And then you go on the edit rotation. Oh, that one has also been set up, but by default, I believe there's a policy that I had an append policy that was to append this one automatically. But by default, if you do what it's normally it normally comes in this way. Now you have to enable, and by enabling, you can maybe if your organization recommend
Albert, you're breaking. Hello,
in
Albert.
3 days, you can have it as 90, 3 months, that's 90, depending on those. Maybe you can also toggle according to your organizational need.
Or
So in this
Albert,
case,
could you
maybe,
kindly try with the video off?
Yep.
Because of the bandwidth.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Okay, that one should work better.
Yeah, better.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so say this basing on your organizational need, you can simply change that aspect at that point. So we'll quickly jump into how you can get started with that one. So to begin with, you will normally the policies are written in JSON. Azure policies are written in JSON, so normally you edit those templates in JSON. In that case, you can use your preferred editor. In this case, I have a VS Code open on my end. We'll use VS Code for this, but we can quickly create a new definition. So once there, we want to create a new definition. Take a bit of time to load. As that one is loading, I should also be able to bring in my okay, that one is loaded. So we create a new definition. You can give it as this is where we're defining the definition, defining the scope of the definition. I only have access to a subscription level, so I'll have it that way. I can have this one as you can say maybe RCA with demo key rotation. Key rotation. Always a good idea to have a description that people can be able to tell. You can say a policy to check on key rotation reminder, something like that. And then you want to give it a category, you can give it a storage, or can just use an existing. And then this is the default way a policy looks like. The policy, the default one is normally we have the parameter, normally starting with the parameter. On the parameter, this is where you define the various things. Maybe in this case, it was for the allowed locations, but this is where you define things that you may want to change during assignment of your policy. The other thing is that you will now have the policy rule. The policy rule contains some logical statements, as we'll see in a few, and then we have the effect where what you want that policy to do. So I'll not start with this one because this one is just a shorter one. We can quickly get we'll quickly get a built-in policy already, a definition, and then we edit that one. Can quickly, let me just get another definition, quickly do it for you. Go to policy, and then go on definition. So because this one is affecting a storage account, it will be a good idea to start with we edit a built-in policy for a storage account. My network seems to be a bit slow. Give it a second for it to load. Okay, that one has loaded. We can quickly go to storage account. We now go filter this one to a storage account. And once you're in a storage account, just use any policy. In this case, you're using, let's go with the simple one, TLS. So once you'll be able to get the definition of this policy. So give it a time to load. Okay. Give it a second. Okay, so this is what we want to pick. We want to pick on this definition, and then we edit this onto our custom policy. I'll quickly grab these, and then I'll quickly bring in my favorite editor there, using a VS Code. Then I can have this policy there. You can do a control copy, control V. It should be there. So what you now going to do, it is a bit of control change. So the first thing that we want to, this one is already set to a PowerShell. Want to convert into a JSON. Convert it to a JSON as policy are written in JSON. So a few parameters that we need to change. Quickly change this one. You can say key rotation. Something that we want to change on that one. Key rotation. This is not a built-in. You'll have to change it as a custom, so that it can reflect as a custom. There is on the mode, we can have it as all, but index, the index mode normally applies to resources that you can have tags or location on them. But if you have all, it will apply to all the resources in my environment. The reason why it was indexed, it was because it was a storage account, and storage account normally you can have tag to that resource or a location. You can decide to change it or not, but you can have it as all, no effect of that. And then on the description, you can quickly change that description to your favorite. Then you can change that one. You can quickly have it as a policy to check key rotation reminder. And then on the version, I just simply have that one, is a category is that one, that is fine. And the other aspect is on the parameters. So these are the things that you want to be done. The default one, the parameter will always contain the effect. So what this means is that if this policy evaluates to be true, what will happen? So there are these things there, there are various values there, audit denied and then disabled, though the default value is audit. So in this case, that one is fine, but we want to define another parameter because we don't want to hard code here the days, that interval. So we don't want to hard code this. So we'll have a parameter. Maybe to explain to you how that comes is if you can quickly go back to your Azure portal, and then we open, because we're through that one, and then go quickly to storage. There are some of the things that we'll need to check, especially on the property of the resource that you want. An easier way is just from the Azure side of it, and then you have the JSON view. The other thing, you can quickly have it from the ARM template. You can quickly Google the ARM template of the resource that you're doing. But in this case, since we have a storage account, you can quickly go there. So you see the storage account, there are various properties that is there. These are the properties and these are things that you can change in your policy. But I want to go this part that you have said, the reminder. You say the reminder is 70. I don't want to add call this one in my definition. Rather, I want it to have it as a variable, as a parameter, so that I can change later when the need comes. I don't need to come and change the definition, but I can just change on the assignment whereby I will edit this parameter. So in that case, I want to include another parameter that we can have it as, for the sake of time, we can have it as days. So I'll quickly copy this, how this looks like that way, copy, and then I can quickly add there the new parameter v. Always remember that one should be fine. Default value is that. Just confirm. It's supposed to have another. Since we don't need to have a default value, we are defining another parameter. We can have it as days. Let me quickly do this. Where is the parameter here? You can have the parameter as days. Normally it follows, it is camel casing. You can say days interval. Start with a small letter that way. And then this one is an integer because we want to define it in that way. We may want to have it as an integer. Sorry, go back and say this one is our integer. That's the spelling, integer. Then on the metadata, instead of effect, we say this interval in days, and then on the description, number of days for key reminder. And then we don't need to have the default values and all those blah, blah, blah. There, we are removing that. That one should be good for us to go. Just to remove that spacing, that one should be fine, should be well. We don't need to have this. Okay, that one is fine. You already defined it there. Then the other thing is that on this, we don't need to have another parameters because we already defined that one. We don't need to have, you see from this point, we don't need to have these. Can delete that one. Can delete that one. That one is okay. And now then we come to the critical part, which is the rule, which is normally evaluated. So on the rule, the rule has the logical expression, and then the other thing that the rule has is now what happens. The logical operations start with the if, and then in the if statement, you can have all of, which is same as the AND operation, and then any of, which is the same as the OR operation. But for us, we want just to have
Albert, it seems like we lost you again. Samson, am I audible? Or is it Albert's side?
let you know how that is.
Yeah, I think we lost Albert for a minute.
Albert, are you audible?
Okay. Sorry, yeah, having a rough day in my end.
Okay, we lost your screen too.
Okay, we'll do that. Sorry for that. Okay, I believe you're able now to see.
A minute. Yeah, now you're back.
Okay, sorry for that experience. Yeah, so you're saying we are going to remove all the other parameters. We don't need those parameters. We are removed. So in this case, we are saying that we're going to have one just to have an and of. So all of these we can have it as, yeah, instead of any of. I'll tell you how that comes. Just a second, it will make sense. All of, I don't need to do an and. You will
Albert, it seems you have a technical issue again. maybe as we wait for Albert to come back, Samson, I want to direct you this question that was asked in the chat box by Kanga. Apart from JSON, can one define the policies using other user-friendly languages?
Let me just redirect that to Ken because
Albert, are you back?
because I see he has.
Yeah.
Albert?
Yeah, sure, I'm back.
Okay.
Okay, yes. Let me do it faster because my network seems to disappoint me. We'll do it fast. Okay, we are on the policy rule. Maybe allow me just to finish on this quickly, then we tackle on those questions very fast. So what we'll need to do is now you need to be able to tell what comes in your policy rule. So to do this one is a good way to get to do that. Once you are able to have your JSON format of your resource, for example, here, now this one wants to check on the field. Which field are we going to check? We are going to check our storage account. How will you know how a storage account is defined? Either you can have either an ARM template for that, which you can just quickly say storage account ARM template, storage account ARM template. You should be able to know, get the definition there if you open that one. So there are various formats. You can have maybe a bicep for that. You can also have a JSON for that. So in this, we are interested in the ARM. We also have a Terraform version of that. This is how a storage account is defined. So this is what you copy. Rather, you can also get it from your JSON file. When you come to the type, you see on this type. So this is how that should be defined. So you can quickly copy that, and then you insert in your policy on that section. Just go back, and then you can do a control find replace all, but this one is just a short one. Let's replace on that one, and then what are we looking for? We are looking for, this one is a storage account, the field. What is this field? This one is looking for not equals to, this one you're checking on the parameter, but now this one, okay, that one should be fine. Field should be that one. Okay, on the parameter. Okay, let's skip on that. We'll come on that. Let me define the other part. We want to check on this field and the other field, this one. So now this one, it will check on your, the other thing that we need to check, it is this particular field for key rotation reminder. We want to get back to this particular thing. Since I've already interacted with this one, a short way in which that one can be done, after defining the type of it, you can quickly go to /, you give the property, which it will be the key policy. And if you're one step down, you can just use a full stop for these. But if you're interested, I also have the various commands here you can use. I already have a script for that. You can quickly get the commands to get the layers. To that one, I will share with you at the group. Because of time, will not do that one. Here we have the list of importance command. The first command, this one, you want to log, you'll first, this one now is a PowerShell one. You'll use this command. For example, if you want to log into your Azure environment, you can quickly that one select. This one to prompt you to log into your Azure environment. I'm using a tenant ID because my account has logged into various accounts. So I want to go to a specific one, and experience it will be this way. So I want to log into a specific one. You'll quickly log in. Once let that log in. Once that one is logged in, then you can use, yeah, it has logged in. Then you can use this one, get layers. So you want to use the property that are acceptable by the Azure policy. So that one you can also select that one and run. It will take a few seconds for it to run. So it will get layers telling you the list of the possible or the required property that you can use for your storage account. So I'll share with you this list. I'll also share with you some documentation on where you can read more. But this we already know. We want the key policy. You can just copy that one, the key policy for that, and then you can quickly go back to where you are. Okay, just here. On the key policy, you see at this part, your storage account, you just take the same field up to the storage account. Oh, this one is the other one I already, I already made that one. Key, I'm not, okay, look out, a lot of it happening, just a second. where's my, oh, sorry. Okay, so you're looking at this part. So I want to take this one, is a storage account, storage account at this part. Can quickly change to that key, and because it was that one, you can go a step down, you put a full stop, and then you pick. Actually, normally just use your JSON format from your source that you have already created. It will just give you an easy time to move around that one. So that one you can quickly give it there. So it will check on that one, and then here you can use and this one. You want to equate, so you can say equals to. You can have equals, and then this one want to ensure that the value it will be equal to the parameter that we'll set here. So want to you can, let me copy this because it will take that one. Now I want to call that aspect. You can copy at this part, but now my parameter is not the minimum TLS version. My parameter that I want to check on, it is here, days interval. So you can quickly change on that. Yeah, quickly replace it there. Ensure you never copied everything. Should be mess. Quickly grab this one, and then I'll quickly replace at this point. Okay, that one should be, why is not picking everything? Supposed to be days interval. Be days. Be days interval. Here you go. That one should be fine. If not equal to this one, then what should happen? Then you have to call the effect. We'll format this later. We'll remove some of the things that are not needed. For example, this one is happening there to that point. I should be able to remove these. Then what will happen? It will call on the parameter and then call the effect. What is our effect there? It will be able to choose between either of these one, because when you see the parameter effect, it has these variables. So in this case, if you are conversing on the software side of it, it's like you're using a bit of variables. We don't want to hard code the things. We just need to edit there. It makes it easier for future. And then here you are looking at the type you are looking at the storage account. I'll quickly confirm on this section. We don't need these. On equals should also surface. You're looking at the, can have it as type also there, because what I'm telling this one is just look at the type. All of this one is an and. The first part, it should be a storage account. And then after being a storage account, what next? Then this specific field on that part of saying key rotation reminder, it should match the value that I'm going to define there. And what happens if that matches? Then execute the effect. That should be surface. All the other things can quite go do away with that. And then see if you need, ensure that you close it well. You'll also need a last one here. So don't need that one. Can go a step back, and then you can close the braces. Just ensure you can do so. Let me see, you can format this, format document, format selection. That one should surface. Okay, the effect. Do you still need another one? Just to see, want to see this one is ending at what point? Okay, we have another one of that. This one is of that. Just confirming these brackets. Just a second. So that can, this one, other one should close. So those goals are good at, people are very good at JSON. These are things you need to format a bit of, so that anyone seeing the error, missing a bracket somewhere. Okay, if I format this one, okay, I should have anything there. I want this one to close well. Okay. There's a matter of formatting. You can excuse on that. We'll be able to get these formatted well. And then I should be able to send you, or perhaps I can also have it at my GitHub, so that if ever you need access to this particular custom policy, you'll be able to get it from there. So once you're able to define your all parameter based on those, you can quickly now come at this point. You want to control all, and then you give your definition. So missing that one, I can quickly confirm with the already existing policy. What is it that I'm missing there? Is it on the brackets? I should not have a comma. That doesn't make sense. Okay, let's see if you're able to save with that one. Sometimes throwing an error, invalid JSON. Just allow me quickly to have already a policy that I done for the same purpose for the interest of time. I can quickly have a definition somewhere. Just a second. Okay, you can quickly, just a second, I get that definition. I have it somewhere already formatted well, but this one now becomes a matter of formatting. After you're able to format, this one is a good one. You should be able to save. Now you'll be able to save your definition. So once the definition is saved, at this point now is you are now able to assign your policy. So it's saving. Give it a second. Yeah, as it saves, you can look at some few questions that are there, but simply that is how you can start in with a built-in policy. Just some key things that you need to know. Just know the resource type. The resource type can either get it from the JSON view of a particular resource. You can create a resource, then view the JSON part of it, or you can go to the resource group and view under your deployment, go on the deployment template. You'll also be able to get the ARM version of it. You can also Google the ARM version of your resource that you're using. You'll be able to get everything. And just to ensure that you're dealing with the right alias or the right thing that you need to edit, you can use that command get alias, and then you define the various parameter that you need. Ensure that, because if you're using a wrong alias, you'll not be able to edit that. But the alias, once you do a couple of number of them, you should be able to know that the aliases are these parameters. For example, you can define your custom policy and you want to change. For example, this one is standard. You can have a policy at the type, it was a storage account. The field, check on this one. If it's not equal to the standard, then you can have something like deny. If it's equal to a standard, you can have something like audit. So you can play around. There are various possibilities of you to come up with custom policies. All of these fields are editable. You can create actually any policy for any of these fields. If you you want to create a storage account that the access tier should always be equal to hot or maybe cold or something, you can as well create a custom policy and just affect this alias or this parameter. So yeah, it has endless possibility based on your complex organizational requirement. My network is a bit slow. So once that one is doing, okay, that one is finished. Then we can quickly go to assign. You can put on the scope you're doing at subscription level, definition, already you have that one. Assignment name, you can have it as that one. You want to enforce it. Then when you go to next, and then next, you see, remember the parameter, you can check and check that one, and you see parameter we're defining on the days of the key retention. So the importance of having it as a parameter is that maybe today you can have it as 90. 2 months down the line, organization can change it to 180. You're able to change it from this point. But if you had called it in your definition, it means that you will need to go and edit your policy definition because you want to edit that part, which will not be a good practice. You can simply have this as a parameter and then have the flexibility of changing it at this point. And then the various default ways that we had said, we had put there on the effect, on the deny, disable, and audit. As we said, always have it first at audit mode first before you can be able to change anything. You can decide to have a compliance policy there telling your people that remember to have key rotation reminder set on, some message there. But now that one is a simple thing. That one is an assignment. After the policy has been assigned, you should be able to come here under assignment, be able to see your particular policy. For example, I already have a couple of them, and then you can be able to look at the compliance. So, and that was all. Just getting started with custom policy. I know it can become complex as the effects changes. If you change into modify, change into append, a number of things that you need to modify, but always use already built-in policy as a point of reference. You can be able to use the built-in policies, and you should be able to ensure that you get your aliases right. You can always have a work around any custom policy that you need to develop. Okay, perfect. And any questions? And that was my time. Back to Sikamoi. Allow me to stop sharing the screen.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, Albert. That was a great presentation, a great learning experience, and I hope so it's not only to me, but to everyone in the audience. When you had a technical glitch, there was a conversation going on in the chat box. Let me trace it down. Yeah, for Claudius, Samson has sorted you out. You are to join the WhatsApp group community. There is a link there down below. Then for Kanga had a question. Apart from JSON, what can one define? Can one define the policies using other user-friendly languages? That was his question.
Okay. Yeah, I know Bicep is a good way, a user-friendly way, but now after you have done it with Bicep, you need to convert it to JSON. I believe these are just a button, have the JSON view of it, because policy definition will now accept JSON format. If you have the Bicep, it will try to abstract a lot of things from you, just the same way you have mentioned. You want it a user-friendly way, so it will just give you the just specific details that it will make you get started with policies. But now if you want to define the definition, remember to turn it back to JSON, as the policy will only accept a JSON format. You remember that point we were trying to save and there was an error telling you invalid JSON. So it means that it will only accept a JSON format to be saved. There are a number of ways. If you use the Bicep, remember to convert it back to a JSON so that you can be able to save the definition. But yeah, you can use Bicep, a good way, a user-friendly way to go about that.
Okay, I hope that answers Kanga. Then we have, he also asked about, are there any associated costs with using the adding Azure custom policies? If you add Azure custom policies, do you occur more charges or what happens?
No, there are no any charges applied with your policy. These are just tools there that the cloud provider has given you to enhance your governance and also for monitoring purposes if you need some compliance kind of a thing. So there are not totally things to deal with policy, no any costs associated with. The same thing will deal with, maybe now if you use this policy with another custom solution or solution that you want, if you want to push the report or something of the sort, but for you to use policy, it's totally zero, no cost associated due to policies.
Okay. Then there was a certain joke over there. Then for Paul Karani asked, is there any way one can exempt a resource or resource group from inheriting a policy set at a higher level, maybe management group or subscription?
So if I've gotten you well, Paul, you applying this policy at a higher level, but you want to exempt a resource which is on a lower level, maybe from a resource group or something. So the policy, you're applying the policy from at the higher scope, but you want to exempt a resource at a lower scope. Yeah. So there's that part of exemption. You can be able to exempt the particular resources. Yeah, it will be able. It's very okay. You can exempt, and if you want that policy to just apply to other resources, but not to that one. If you can quickly be able to. Normally that one you are using. Normally that one I've seen that coming handy when you're using maybe a deploy if not exist policy. You want to remediate may want to remediate a particular, and if you even come to the exemption, there are just particular policy that will enable you to exempt from. If I want to exempt approaching expirations, total exemption, I only have one. Because if you go to a particular policy, maybe I normally see it with a policy that are under either modify, because you want to exempt something from, if I see, oh, it is there, but I normally see that, okay, yeah, you sure you can do for anything. This is where you can exempt, but I normally see it coming handy when you have the deploy if not exist. So you want to exempt a particular resources from being applied, because if you have a deploy if not exist, it will now do a redeployment of that. Yeah, but sure, you can just exempt as you have seen from the portal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Albert. Paul, I hope so that answers your question. Any other person with a question, you can just raise up your hand, then mute and ask. Any other person? Okay. I guess so. Also on our time, we are slightly past our duration. Thank you so much, Albert. That was a great info session about Azure custom policies. I hope so. Me and the rest of the team, we have grasped something. Make sure you don't get out of here without getting anything. And just to end the session, I might give a go to research statement. Go and research on it. It applies to everyone. Go and research on which database does. We talked about some storage bit of things, but go and research on what database that does chat OpenAI store its data. Then I guess so the people who are in AWS will come to Azure very soon. And thank you so much. I don't think there is anything from the executive team. As a normal routine, we'll just open our microphones and say our statement. Think global, impact local as we live. Okay, in 1, 2, 3.
Think global,
Think
impact
global,
local. Bye, guys.
local. Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Again, continue as you live in. Think, okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Paul.